Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anisha and thank you so much for joining me here today. Today I'm setting up my monthly reading wrap up for August in my reading journal. So let's get into it. For today's setup, this PET tape is going to be the main element. I have provided the link for the PET tape in the description. The full roll is actually out of stock, but you can buy the sample version. This is actually just a sample, but the loop is quite long, so I'm really happy with it. I'm going to pair it with my Ohuhu markers and Koi brush pens and Pigma Micron fine liners. So let's start with the cover page. I'm starting with a grid pattern here. It's not solid lines, it's kind of like a broken grid. This isn't the main element, I'm just trying to create a background for the stickers and the heading. I actually saw this idea recently in a YouTube video. I think it was from the channel The Tiny Book Nest. I might be wrong, I'm sorry if I am. But in one of her recent videos, she did something like this and I really like that idea. I think it's a clever way to create an easy background for the elements you are using on the page. Like if you don't have matching scrapbook paper or washi tape to go with the other elements, you can just create a simple pattern like this in the background and then stick the things on top of it. It makes everything look more put together, I guess. Anyway, I really like the look it gave here. Originally, I intended to do this only for the cover page, but I ended up liking it so much that I used the grid pattern on every page before adding the stickers. And that's it for the cover page. Now, moving on to the left hand side, this is going to be the calendar. I use the calendar in my reading journal basically just as a reading tracker, just a visual representation of every book I read and how many days I spent reading each one. I indicate that using different colored markers, and that's what I'm doing here. I've been reading quite slowly for the last few months, and August was also kind of a slow month, but I did pick up speed in the second half of the month. I ended up reading a total of 6 books in this month, and 2 in the first half and 4 in the second half. The main reason I started reading more towards the end of the month is because September is the magical readathon autumn equinox, something I have been really looking forward to. Around the second week of August, the syllabus or the prompts basically for the autumn equinox were released. The Magical Readathon is honestly one of my favorite readathons, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll provide a link in the description. Please check out G's original video for all the details. It's kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons style roleplay readathon, and it is so much fun. So when the prompts were announced, I made a list of all the books I had to read for the subjects, and I realized I would need to read 16 books in September, including the Guild Book Club pick. So that's a huge task, considering my usual average is around 7 to 9 books per month. And also, in the past few months, I have been reading even less, about 5 to 6 books per month, which I was actually enjoying at a slower pace. But since the magical readathon was coming up, I wanted to prepare. So there are ways to earn points throughout the year in this readathon, which you can use later to buy different items to help you in your journey. And one option is scrolls, and some of the scrolls allow you to start reading early. That's what I decided to go with. So even though the autumn equinox officially starts in September, I began my reading in mid-August, so the 4 books I read in the second half of the August were actually part of the magical readathon. Overall, I had a great reading month in August. There were a couple of disappointments, but in general, the books were really good, so I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I actually intended to read about 8 books in August, just to make September a little easier since I'd be left with only 10 books for the readathon then. But that didn't quite happen. But I think I'm managing September well. I'm recording this in the second half of September, and I think I'll be able to finish all the required books by the end of the month. Moving on to the next spread, here I am creating a table to represent all the books I read this month, along with the title, author, the format I read them in, and the rating I gave each book. By the way, this color looks really pink in the video, but in real life it's more of a reddish tone. It actually goes well with the stickers I'm using, but on camera it shows up more on the pink side. On the right hand side, as usual, I'm sticking all the covers of the books I read along with my star rating stickers. So these are the books I read in August. Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar, Coptown by Karen Slaughter, Emily Wilder's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Quay Mai, Apples Never Fall by Leonie Moriarty, and What a Moon by Samantha Shoto Yambo. As I said earlier, some of the reads were really good and some of them weren't that great. One that really surprised me was Emily Wilder's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I know that book is quite popular on social media, but I have not always had the best experience with the books that are hyped online. So I wasn't expecting too much when I picked it up, but it turned out to be such a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed it, and now I'm looking really forward to reading the sequel. Another highlight was The Mountains Sing. It was such a beautiful read, I really loved it. Looking back, I almost feel like I should have given it 5 stars. I ended up giving it a 4.5, and I think that's because I listened to it on the audiobooks. I have noticed this about myself. I never give an audiobook a 5 star. The best I have ever given is a 4.5 because I think I don't feel quite as connected when I'm listening compared to when I'm physically reading. But while editing this video, I kept thinking The Mountains Sing really does feel like a 5-star read. Some of the other reads, as you can see, were not as great. I had a 3-star and even a 2-star read. But overall, I still think August was pretty good reading month. Now, about the stickers I'm using here, especially the big ones. I know they don't look that great here. The larger stickers make the page look too busy. They take up too much space and kind of clash with the colors on the book covers. Overall, the spread feels a little overwhelming. But the thing is, like I mentioned in the introduction, the BT tape I am using was sold out in full rolls, so I bought the sample version. It is actually quite long. One loop is a meter long and none of the design is repeating. I really love the tape and the designs, but the problem is that the loop is a mix of small, medium, and large stickers. And since my next page is going to be much busier than this one, I wanted to save the smaller and medium stickers for that spread. So I had to use a couple of larger ones here. I still have a lot of designs left over from this loop, but all of them are on the larger side. So I'm not the biggest fan of how it turned out, especially the big sticker on the top left. I'm not completely happy with it, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's move on. Now, this is the page for my usual monthly reading stats. I already created all the charts and graphs in Canva and printed them on sticker paper, so I'm just using them here. As I mentioned before, in August, I read a total of 6 books with 1693 pages and 20.42 hours of audiobooks. In terms of genres, I had 3 fantasies, 2 mystery thrillers, and 1 historical fiction. For ratings, I had 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 1 3.5 star, 2 4 stars, and 1 4.5 star. In terms of format, I read 2 physical books, 2 ebooks, and listened to 2 audiobooks. All the books I read this month were fiction, there were no non-fiction. And out of the 6 books I read, 2 were from my existing TBR and 4 were new additions. As I said before, I wanted to include the broken grid pattern on every page. I really like how it looks with the stickers, and I thought repeating it throughout it would make the theme more cohesive. But this page is already pretty busy with all the graphs and charts, so instead of doing a full border like I did on the other pages, I added small patches of the grid pattern here and there, and I think that turned out quite well. Okay, so that's it for the monthly wrap up. Now let's do a final flip through. That's it for today's setup. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my channel for more journaling content, and please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.